At the beginning of the drama, we see our female lead named Nian. Nian's boss tells her to go to an address to check on a patient, but Nian cannot find the patient's house. Instead, she is on her way to Mr. Han's house to see his son. Mr. Han tells Nian, "Someone will come to take you." Just then, a man arrives, looking for someone. Nian says to him, "I am the one who came to see the patient." That man turns out to be the housekeeper. He takes Nian inside the house and leaves her with a boy. This boy is the male lead of our drama. His name is Han Li. Meanwhile, the housekeeper goes to Li's mother, Mrs. Han, and says, "Dr. Shin is with Li. Don't worry, she is a psychologist. She will help him." Mrs. Han replies, "I also hope the same. This time, everything should get better. I cannot keep my son locked inside the house any longer." After that, Nian starts treating Li and tries to get close to him, but Li stops Nian from coming near. Meanwhile, the real Dr. Shin arrives. Mrs. Han realizes that she has left someone else alone with her son. At the same time, Nian keeps trying to get close to Li. Suddenly, her foot slips and she falls on top of Li. Accidentally, they kiss each other. Just then, Mrs. Han comes there with Dr. Shin. Li quickly moves away from Nian. Li's hand gets injured. Mrs. Han applies medicine to his hand. At the same time, Nian gets a call from her boss. Her boss says, "Why haven't you reached the patient's house yet?" Then, her boss fires Nian from the job. After that, Dr. Shin takes Mrs. Han aside to talk. Mrs. Han asks her, "Will my son ever recover?" Dr. Shin replies, "Since the day your son met that lady, he has been suffering from a skin allergy problem. But look at this girl. When she kissed Li, nothing happened to him." Dr. Shin continues, "This girl can actually help your son recover." So, Mrs. Han asks Nian to sign an agreement. Mrs. Han says to Nian, "I found out about you. Your mother is sick, right?" Nian says, "Whatever you want to do it with me. Don't involve my mother." Mrs. Han replies, "You are misunderstanding me. I want to make a deal with you. I will pay for your mother's treatment, and in return, you will help with my son's treatment." Nian asks, "Are you serious?" Mrs. Han says, "Yes, you can also complete your studies with my son." Seeing this as a good deal, Nian agreed. After that, Mrs. Han tells her son about the deal, but Li says, "I don't accept this." Mrs. Han emotionally blackmails him, and finally, he agreed. She gives them both a smartwatch. Mrs. Han explains, "This watch will record the distance between you two. Every day, for 8 hours, you must stay within 1 meter of each other physically." In the next scene, Nian is checking the distance. Li says to her, "Stay away from me." Nian apologizes, but Li walks away. Nian says, "I know you don't like this, but I promised Mrs. Han that I will help with your treatment." Li replies, "If you really feel sorry, then resign." Nian says, "I cannot do that." Li leaves again. After that, the housekeeper shows Nian her bedroom. The housekeeper gives Nian all the files and says, "This has all the information about Li. Memorize it." The housekeeper also gives Nian a school uniform and says, "From today, you will go to school with Li." In the next scene, Nian arrives at school with Li. Li gets out of the car. Right behind him, Nian also steps out. Nian accidentally bumps into Li. Li says to her, "Stay away from me." Then Li walks away. Nian follows him and says, "If I stay too far from you, how will I manage the distance?" Nian enters the classroom behind him. Inside, the students whisper to each other, "We have never seen her before." Nian sits down in the seat next to Li. A boy signals her not to sit there. Meanwhile, Li, who is sleeping, suddenly wakes up. Nian says to Li, "Don't glare at me like that. The seat next to you is empty, so I sat here." Li doesn't say anything. Nian then asks that boy, "What is wrong with you?" Li interrupts and tells Nian to keep quiet. That boy takes Nian aside and says, "Didn't you recognize me? I am Chin Chuan. We once worked part-time at the bakery together." Nian recognizes Chin. Chin asks Nian, "How's your mother?" Nian replies, "She is the same as before. We still cannot find a kidney donor for her." Meanwhile, Li arrives and overhears their conversation. Nian tells Chin, "I got a job in the Han family." Chin says to her, "Li doesn't seem right to me. If you touch him, he will become violent with you." But Nian replies, "I don't think Li is like that." Li walks away silently. At night, when Li is sleeping, Nian quietly comes near him. She connects her watch with Li's watch. Nian whispers, "I also don't like staying with you. As soon as 1 minute is over, I will leave." 1 minute passes, and Nian leaves the room. But Li opens his eye. He had only been pretending to sleep all this time. In the next morning, Nian again arrives at school with Li. Nian says to him, "You want me to stay away from you, right? Then give me your watch. I won't come near you again." Li replies, "Fine, then don't make me angry for the entire day. If you can do that, I will think about giving you my watch." Nian leaves Li alone in the classroom and goes outside. She starts reading Li's information files. Meanwhile, a girl comes up to her. Her name is Mu Jinwoo. Jinwoo says to Nian, "Stop trying to impress Lee." Nian replies, "You are mistaken." But Jinwoo notices the information papers in Nian's hands. She says angrily, "Don't lie. You are after Lee. Lee is mine." Then Jinwoo walks away. After that, Nian goes back into the classroom. Jinwoo also comes and sits in her seat. Nian asks Lee, "Is Jinwoo your girlfriend?" Lee gives his watch to Nian. Nian takes the watch and leaves. Then Lee turns to Jinwoo and asks, "Did you trouble Nian?" Jin tries to deny it and lies. "I didn't do anything." Lee says to Jin, "Stay away from Nian. You are not my girlfriend." After that, Lee walks away. Meanwhile, Nian is at Chen's bakery. Nian asks Chen, "Is Jin Lee's girlfriend?" Chen replies, "No, Jin is not Lee's girlfriend, but for the past 2 years, she has liked him." Lee sees Nian and Chen together and starts feeling jealous. At night, Nian angrily writes in her notes about Lee, "May he get bad dreams and not be able to sleep." Meanwhile, Lee actually has a nightmare and gets scared. In the morning, Mrs. Han asks her son, "Didn't you sleep well?" Lee tells his mother, "I had a nightmare." Nian overhears this and feels guilty. She thinks it happened because of what she wrote. Later at school, Nian tells Chen, "Last night I wrote in my notes that Lee would have bad dreams, and it really happened." Chen says, "You are overthinking. Things don't happen like that." Just then, Lee arrives and asks Nian for his watch. Nian refuses to give it back. Lee says, "Fine, then I will consider this as your resignation." So Nian gives him the watch. Lee says, "If you don't want to leave the job, then maintain the distance." In the next scene, it is night again. Lee gives Nian some books and says, "Midterm exams are coming. You must pass. If you fail, you cannot stay in my class." Nian studies hard in her room. She writes in her diary, "May Lee get 0 marks in the exam." Meanwhile, Lee remembers a childhood incident. He had once been kidnapped and locked up by a lady. Just then, Mrs. Han comes and asks him, "Are you okay?" Lee replies, "Yes, I am fine," and then leaves. The next day, Nian is tired because she studied all night. At school, Nian falls asleep on Lee's back. Lee says, "Wake up." But Nian says, "Let me rest for a while." At that moment, Jin sees them and gets angry. Later, when Jin finds Nian alone, she takes her away. Nian is sleepy. Jin asks, "What magic have you done on Lee? Why is he letting you stay close to him?" Nian replies, "Lee is sick." Hearing this, Jin locks Nian inside a room. Then another girl calls Jin to come with her. So Jin leaves, and Nian remains locked inside. Meanwhile, the exam is about to begin. Lee is searching for Nian. He tells Chen, "Nian is missing." Chen meets Jin and asks, "Where is Nian?" Jin says, "I don't know." Chen says, "Nian is missing." Finally, Jin says, "Maybe she is in the music room." Chen informs Lee. Lee goes and has the room open. He rescues Nian from there. The doctor checks Nian and says, "She is fine. She was only sleeping." Nian wakes up and asks, "What time is it? If we miss the exam, we will get 0 marks." Chen tells her, "Yes, we missed the exam." Just then, Jin comes and apologizes to Nian, but Nian says, "Jin was the one who locked me in the room." Jin replies, "I was very angry with you. That's why I locked you in. Later, I wanted to let you out, but I forgot." Nian says to Jin, "What harm did I ever do to you?" Then Jin says to Lee, "Nian told me that you were sick." Lee answers, "Yes, I am sick, but why does that matter to you?" Jin tries to touch Lee, but Nian immediately pulls her away from him. Jin leaves sadly. Chen follows her. Meanwhile, Nian applies medicine on Lee's allergy. Lee asks her, "Where did you get this medicine?" Nian replies, "I always keep it with me. I asked the housekeeper for it, so I can use it whenever needed." In the next scene, Nian is studying. Mrs. Han comes and tells her, "My husband will be happy to meet you. He will be coming home soon." Later, Lee and Nian reach school. Students are checking their result. Jin comes first in the exam, but she angrily walks away. The other girls whisper, "Lee didn't give the exam because of Nian. If he had taken the exam, Jin wouldn't have been first." Lee gets 0 marks. Nian says to him, "I'm sorry." Lee replies, "It's okay." Meanwhile, the teacher scolds all 3 of them. The teacher asks Lee, "Why did you miss the exam?" Nian steps forward and tells the teacher, "I was locked in the room, and both of them missed their exam to save me." The teacher asks Nian, "Can you prove this?" Just then, Jin comes forward and says, "Yes, this is true. Nian was locked in the room. With the help of the watchman, they opened the door and saved her." So the teacher gives all 3 of them another chance to take the exam. In the next scene, Nian asks Chen, "Why is Lee not studying?" Chen replies, "He doesn't need to study." Then Chen walks away. Nian asks Lee, "Can you give me your note?" Lee highlights her book and says, "Just read this. You will pass." Nian asks, "Why are you so sure?" Lee answers, "Because I have brains." At night, Nian goes to Lee and says, "Can you also help me with the other subjects?" Lee gives Nian all the exam papers. Nian asks, "Can I share these papers with Jin?" Lee replies, "You can do whatever you want." The next day, Nian says to Lee, I don't understand this question. Lee comes close and explains it to her. Nian tries to touch Lee's watch, but he stops her. When Nian sees Chen coming, she quickly goes to him. She gives Chen the exam papers and says, Lee gave these to me. Then Nian asks Chen, how can I touch Lee without irritating him? Chen asks, why do you want to touch him? Do you like him? Nian replies, just give me an idea or not. Chen says, you can touch him when he is sleeping. Nian returns, but Lee is not there. Meanwhile, Lee's father, Mr. Han, comes home. Mrs. Han tells her husband about Nian. Mrs. Han says, I want Nian to become our daughter-in-law. But Mr. Han says, Lee will marry only the daughter of the Jiang family. On the other side, Chen gives Nian an idea. Hide a paper in your hand, and then touch Lee's head. If he sees it, say that there was a paper in his hair. Chen even tells Nian to practice with him. Lee sees both of them together and gets angry. He walks away. Meanwhile, Nian thinks, Mrs. Han said that Mr. Han is a strict man. Mrs. Han tells her husband, Lee has changed so much since Nian came. It all happened because of her. Lee hears this and leaves. The next day, Nian, Lee, and Jean sit for the exam. When Nian looks at the paper, she thinks, this is exactly the same paper that Lee gave me. Meanwhile, Chen tells Jean everything about the exam paper. Jean takes a copy of the paper from Chen and tells the teacher. The teacher gets angry with Lee and rejects his exam. Lee comes out of the teacher's room. Nian says to him, I'm sorry. Later, Mrs. Han gives Nian a tablet as a gift for passing the exam. When Nian opens it, she sees that the profile picture is of her and Lee. The next day, Nian follows Lee. She thinks, I don't want to disappoint Mrs. Han. Nian tries to touch Lee, but Lee says, keep your hand away from me. Did my mother give you pressure again to complete a task? Nian replies, I don't want to disappoint her. In the classroom, Lee is sleeping. Nian thinks, why does he never sleep at night? Suddenly, Lee gets a call and leaves. Nian follows him. Chen sees Nian's step diary, in which there is a photo of Nian and Lee. Other girls also see it and ask, are they dating? Chen gets angry too. In school, everyone starts talking about Nian. Chen says to Nian, forgive me. It happened because of me. Nian replies, it doesn't matter. I am only scared of Lee's anger. I don't know what he will do. Meanwhile, in class, Lee doesn't see Nian and goes to search for her. He finds Nian talking on the phone with Mrs. Han. Mrs. Han tells Nian, your mother's transplant will happen next week. Nian becomes happy and says, I have completed the 1-minute task. Lee overhears this and leaves silently. In the classroom, the girls gossip about Nian and Lee. Jean gets angry and says, they can never be together. Just then, Lee comes in. Everyone becomes quiet. Lee says to Jean, you are right. I will never date Nian. Just then, Nian arrives and hears everything. In the next scene, Nian bumps into Lee. She says, when Mrs. Han gave me that tablet, it already had our photo in it. If it bothers you, I can change it. Lee replies coldly, you only work for our family. Why would any of this matter to me? The next day at school, Chen asks Nian, are you okay? Nian answers, yes, I am fine. Then Nian asks him, you love Jean, don't you? Chen looks surprised. How did you know? Nian smiles, I could tell from your action. Later, when Nian is sitting alone, Jean comes to her and says, today I am going on a date with Lee. Nian follows Jean to stop her. Jean tries to touch Lee while giving him coffee, but Nian interferes and stops her. Because of this, the coffee falls on Nian's hand and burns it. Lee immediately takes Nian to the classroom and applies medicine on her hand. Nian asks him softly, are you not angry with me? Lee replies, why would I be angry with you? At that moment, they both realize the whole class is staring at them, so they move away from each other. Later, we see Lee holding Nian's hand. He says, the 1 minute is over. Nian replies, stay like this for a little longer. But Lee pulls his hand away and Nian falls on top of him. Just then, Mrs. Han arrives. Nian quickly moves away. As Lee leaves, he signals something to his mother. Mrs. Han smiles and says to Nian, your 1-minute task has now become 10 minutes. The next day, Nian thinks, how will I stay close to Lee for 10 minutes? She sees a poster for a dance competition. Nian tells Lee, we should perform together, but Lee refuses. Meanwhile, Lee asks Chen, you are the male lead, right? Chen says, yes, I am. Nian is making the props, so I am helping her. Lee asks, so Nian is not playing Cinderella? Chen answers, no. Cinderella will be Jean. But later, Lee himself goes to help Nian. While working, his hand touches Nian's hand. When Jean hears that Lee went to help Nian, she gets angry and rushes to them. At the same time, Nian slips and is about to fall, but Lee catches her. He playfully puts paint on Nian's nose, and they both start laughing together. Then Jean arrives and, in anger, tries to grab Nian. Lee defends Nian, and Jean falls down, hurting her leg. Because of this injury, Jean cannot perform anymore, so Chen convinces Nian to become Cinderella. Chen teaches Nian how to dance, but Nian is not good at it. Li sees them close together and feels jealous. He walks away. That night, Li finds Nian practicing dance alone. He decides to teach her himself. When Nian struggles with the steps, Li says, "Put your feet on mine. I'll do the steps, and you just remember them." They dance like this together. Mrs. Han sees them and secretly clicks photo. The next morning, Nian thanks Li and asks, "Will you come to watch my performance?" But Li refuses. Meanwhile, on Jin's orders, a girl cuts Chen's costume. At the performance, Li comes wearing a mask. On stage, Nian is alone, and everyone mocks her. Suddenly, Li steps onto the stage and dances with her. Elsewhere, Chen tells Jean how Li helped Nian. This makes Jean even more jealous. Later in the story, Li finds Nian's diary and keeps it with him. On the other side, Jean meets Chen and says, "I love Li a lot, but I want to forget him. I know you love me, but I am not ready yet. Will you wait for me?" Chen is shocked, but replies, "Yes, I will wait for you." Meanwhile, Mrs. Han tells Nian and Li, "I saw your dance. You both looked wonderful. And Li, you want to help Nian. That shows how much you care for her." Li denies it, saying, "I only did it for the drama club." Then he leaves. Nian tells Mrs. Han, "You are misunderstanding. There is nothing between us. I am only doing my job." Nian also walks away. Later, Li reads Nian's diary, where she has written down her wishes. Meanwhile, Nian says, "Li is engaged to Miss Jiang. When he gets better, I must leave. Our worlds are different." Just then, Nian gets a call from Chen. She goes to his bakery to help him. Nian asks, "You're hiding a secret, aren't you?" Chen denies it, but Nian keeps insisting. Outside, Li sees them together and feels jealous. The housekeeper asks Li, "Should we leave?" But Li replies, "No, I feel like eating something sweet." Inside, Chen tells Nian, "Jean said she will give me a chance." Nian says happily, "That means she has already said half yes." Chen asks, "And what about you and Li?" Just then, Li arrives. He shows Nian her diary. In the next scene, we see that Nian asks for her diary back. Li tells Nian that he wants cupcakes, and if they are not tasty, then he will read her diary. Meanwhile, the housekeeper calls Mrs. Han and informs her that their plan worked. Mrs. Han says she already knew that her son had a crush on Nian, but he himself didn't realize what to do next. After that, Nian brings the cake, but she doesn't see Li around. Suddenly, Li comes there and Nian bumps into him. Li's heartbeat becomes fast, and Nian also feels it. Li tells Nian that he is sorry and admits that he already read her diary. Then he asks Nian if she would like to go camping with him. Nian agrees. As they are on the way, Nian feels pain in her stomach. Li books a hotel room and decides to stay there for the night. Nian asks him why he is staying here and tells him to go to his own room. Li explains that only one room was available, so they must share it. Nian says she will sleep on the sofa while Li can sleep on the bed, but Nian feels uncomfortable on the sofa. Li tells her to come to bed as he wants to sleep and she is making noise. Nian agrees and lies beside him. At midnight, Nian goes to the washroom, and when she comes back, she hugs Li while sleeping. Li's heartbeat becomes fast again. In his dream, he sees himself kidnapped, but suddenly a little girl appears. Li wakes up and finds Nian beside him. Nian also wakes up, quickly moves away, and makes an excuse to go to the washroom again. Li sends a message to someone, telling them to keep searching for that girl. Meanwhile, both of them reach the camping site and set up a tent. Nian finds out that she packed only one mattress. She thinks, does it mean they have to sleep together again? Nian tells Li that it was her mistake, but promises that she will not cross the line. Li replies that they will see how much she keeps her promise. After that, Li and Nian go to the beach and enjoy themselves. They take photos together, but suddenly Nian notices Ji Wei going into the water. Nian tries to save her, but in the process Ji Wei falls into the water. Nian apologizes, thinking that Ji Wei was about to commit suicide, but Ji Wei says she just came to enjoy and now her clothes are wet because of Nian. Nian offers her clothes, but Ji Wei refuses. Then Nian messages Chen and calls him there. All four of them spend time together. Later, Ji Wei gets stomach pain and leaves. Chen privately asks Nian to give sanitary pads to Ji Wei. Nian is surprised and asks how he knew. Chen says he had already kept them in the bag, thinking they might need it. Nian goes after Ji Wei. Meanwhile, Li asks Chen if he likes Ji Wei. Chen asks if Li has a problem with that. Li says he just wants to learn how to take care of a lover. Chen tells him that when you love someone, you naturally start caring for them. On the other side, Nian tells Ji Wei that Chen loves her a lot and takes great care of her. Ji Wei says she knows, but she cannot control her feelings because she was in love with Lee. Nian asks Jiwei how she feels about Chen now. Jiwei says that she finds him cute. She apologizes to Nian, and Nian tells her to forget the past. In the next scene, Nian tells Lee that Chen is a really nice guy. Lee suddenly asks Nian about her period time, and Nian immediately puts her hand on his mouth to stop him. The next morning, Chen asks everyone what their plan is. Nian replies that they came here without any plan. Chen suggests writing notes, and whatever note they pick, they will do that. Lee picks up a note, and it says amusement park, so they all go to the amusement park and enjoy their time. After that, we see Lee saying goodbye to Jiwei with a handshake. Jiwei is shocked. Lee says that he is recovered now. Jiwei shakes hands with him. Nian and Chen secretly watch them. Nian thinks that since Lee has recovered, it is time for her to leave. Meanwhile, we are introduced to another important character of the drama, Jiang Makai. She is the daughter of the Jiang family, the same girl who is supposed to marry Lee. Ma Kuyi meets Lee's parents along with her father. Meanwhile, Lee tells Nian that his birthday is coming up and that he will be going on a trip for a few days because he needs to find someone important. Nian misunderstands and thinks that Lee is going to meet Miss Jiang. Lee tells Nian to take care of herself. On the other side, Jiwei proposes to Chen, and Chen accepts. Later, Nian comes home with Lee, but by then Ma Kuyi has already left. Nian tells Lee that he has completely recovered. Mrs. Han hugs Lee, and Lee also hugs his mother. Later, we see Lee purposely asking the housekeeper what birthday gift he should get. Nian overhears this and starts thinking about what gift she should give Lee. She calls Chen and asks what boys like as birthday gift. Chen replies that whatever a girl gives, boys always like it. Meanwhile, Lee runs into Ma Kuyi on his way, but he doesn't recognize her. He tells her that if she is here to meet his parent, then they are inside, and he leaves. Ma Kuyi enters the house and meets Mr. Han. She tells him that she met Lee outside, but it seemed like he didn't recognize her. Mr. Han explains that maybe Lee was just in a hurry. Later, Lee meets Chen and asks him how he can confess to Nian. Chen gives him some ideas. In the next scene, Nian bakes a cake for Lee's birthday. She asks Jiwei if Lee will like it. At that moment, Chen arrives and says Lee will definitely like it. Then Chen secretly signals Jiwei and Lee. Jiwei tells Nian to wear a red dress for Lee's birthday because red is his favorite color. Nian agrees, but wonders where she will find a red dress. Just then, Mrs. Han comes into her room and gives her a red dress, saying she liked it and bought it for Nian. Nian wears the red dress and gets ready for the birthday party. At the party, Lee is about to propose to Nian. Meanwhile, Jiwei tells Chen that she cannot find Nian anywhere. Suddenly, Mr. Han stops Lee from announcing anything and instead tells everyone that Lee's marriage with Ma Kuyi will be happening soon. Ma Kuyi comes near Lee, and Lee looks at his father in shock. The story shifts to a flashback where Mr. Han had already told Nian that during the birthday party, he was going to announce Lee and Ma Kuyi's marriage, so her job was over, and there was no reason for her to stay. Returning to the present, Ma Kuyi holds Lee's hand, but Lee pulls his hand back and walks away. Mr. Jian asks Mr. Han what is going on and whether his son is not ready for this marriage. He questions why they were even invited if Lee wasn't prepared. Mr. Han assures him that he will talk to Lee. Meanwhile, Nian leaves her red dress and watch in the room and quietly goes away. Lee comes to the room but finds that Nian has already left. On the other side, Ma Kuyi learns about Nian. Lee goes searching for Nian in the hospital, but doesn't find her. He tells Chen and Jiwei that because of his father, Nian left him, and now even her phone is switched off. Chen says that they must find her together. Just then, Ma Kuyi arrives and calls Lee, but he ignores her and walks away. Later, Chen tells Lee that they found Nian's home address. Lee goes to Nian's house. Nian asks him why he is there. Just then, Nian's mother, Mrs. Sin, comes outside and asks Nian who he is. Lee tells her that Nian used to work at their house. Mrs. Sin thanks Lee's mother for helping them so much. Lee lies to Mrs. Sin that his car broke down and asks if he can stay there. She agrees. Mrs. Sin then sends Nian to the market for grocery, and Lee also goes with her. While returning from the market, Lee sees a building, the same one where he was kidnapped in his childhood. Lee goes inside the building, and Nian follows him. Lee suddenly feels strange and, looking at Nian, says that he remembers now it was her who saved him. Nian asks if he was the boy she had helped escape in childhood. Lee nods and tells Nian that he had been searching for her all this time. Nian says that on that day she had gone to fetch water for him, but when she returned, he was already gone. Lee tells her that he was too scared at that time. That's why I went back to my home. After that I started having skin allergy if anyone touched me. Nian asks Lee, so the important person you were talking about finding, was that me? Lee says yes. Meanwhile, Makue comes to Lee's house and waits for him. The housekeeper tries to send Makue away and says, I don't know when Lee will come. Makue says, I will wait. Mrs. Han purposely shows Lee and Nyen's photos to Makue and makes her feel jealous. After that, Nyen comes home with Lee and tells her mother, I told you before that I saved a boy from being locked up. That boy was Lee. Mrs. Sin gets shocked. Lee asks Mrs. Sin, did you know that kidnapper lady? Mrs. Sin says, yes, I knew her. She was my coworker. The factory people fired her and also didn't give her money. Because of this, she went into depression and kidnapped a child for money. Lee comes to know that factory belonged to Mr. Jiang. Later, Lee comes home. Makue says to Lee, I was waiting for you for so long. Lee tells Makue to go home. Makue asks Lee, why are you doing this with me? We are engaged. Lee tells Makue, I am breaking this engagement. Makue says to Lee, you will regret. Makue Lee. Lee tells his father, I will marry the girl I love. Mr. Han says, I have very old friendship with Mr. Jiang. How can I break this marriage? And this marriage will benefit us. Lee says to his father, this is your problem. And I also found out about bad work happening in Mr. Zhang's factory. If this is proved, that family will be destroyed. Mr. Han says to Lee, if you prove this, then I will myself break this engagement. Meanwhile, we see Makue's assistant tells her that Nyen was working in Han family, but it is not clear what she was doing there. Mrs. Han likes Nyen very much. She even arranged treatment for Nyen's mother. Nyen is special for Lee. Makue asks her assistant, did you find anything else? The assistant says, we found Nyen's old address. Makue says, take me to that address. On the other side, Lee meets Mrs. Sin and asks about the other co-workers of that factory. Mrs. Sin tells him about them. Lee and Nyen together investigate the scams of the factory. Lee finds proof against Mr. Jiang. In the next scene, Nyen is walking and realizes someone is following her. Nyen attacks that person, but it is Lee. Nyen says to Lee, you scared me. Lee tells Nyen, I found the account book of the factory and there is proof that Mr. Jiang has done money fraud. Nyen gets happy. Nyen says to Lee, you should go to your father and show him this account book. Lee says, I will drop you home first. Nyen says, I will go myself. Lee leaves. After that, Nyen is walking. She turns and sees Makue coming with her assistant. Nyen asks Makue, who are you? Makue says to Nyen, you don't know me, but I know you. Nyen asks Makue, what do you want? At that time, Lee comes back and asks Makue, what are you doing here? Makue asks Lee, what are you doing? In childhood, you were engaged to me. You treated me badly. You left me alone at the party, you let your mother insult me, and you betrayed me for that girl. Lee says to Makue, I already made clear last time. Our engagement is broken. Makue asks Lee, you are leaving me for her? Lee says, no matter what happens, I will choose Nyen. Makue asks Lee, will you go against our family for her? Lee says to Makue, maybe you don't know what your family has done. Lee tells his father about the wrong work happening in Mr. Zhang's factory and shows the proof. Lee tells that Mr. Jiang did fraud with the workers' money and didn't pay them. One of those workers went into depression and mentally broke down. She kidnapped me. Mrs. Han asks Lee, how did you meet that kidnapper? Lee says, I was kidnapped there, and Nyen freed me from that place. Mrs. Han says to Nyen, you saved my son's life 2 times. Thank you for that. Yumakue says, this is all a lie. Nyen made this whole story. Lee says to his father, everything is proved in front of you, so break the engagement. Mrs. Han says to her husband, break the engagement. I never liked the Jiang family. Mr. Han says, I am breaking the engagement. At that time, Mr. Jiang comes there and asks, what is going on here? Makue tells her father, they all are bullying me. Lee asks Mr. Jiang, do you remember this account book? Mr. Jiang acts like he does not know. Lee says, if you don't remember, then we will talk about this in court. Mr. Jiang says to Mr. Han, see how your son is talking to me. Mr. Han says to Mr. Jiang, my son is absolutely right. You should get punishment for what you did. Mr. Jiang says to Mr. Han, we have been friends for so long. You should support me. Makue says to her father, if you did nothing wrong, then why are you begging in front of him? Makue Lee. Mr. Jiang also goes after her. Mr. Han says sorry to Nyen. Nyen says to Mr. Han, you don't need to say sorry to me. I only feel bad for those workers who didn't get their salary. Mr. Han says to Lee, Nyen is a good girl. You chose the right girl. Lee says to his father, I know. Nyen starts to leave, but Lee stops her and says, I became sick again because Makue scared me. You have to stay with me until I get better. Mr. and Mrs. Han also force Nyen, so she agrees. In the next scene, we see Mrs. Han spends time with Nian. On the other side, Li is with his father. Mr. Han says to Li, since Nian came into your mother's life, your mother has forgotten me. Li says to his father, when Nian is with mother, she forgets me also. Mr. Han says, I am missing my wife. Li says, I am missing Nian too. Mr. Han says to Li, I have an idea. Li goes to his mother and says, father is sick and he is in the hospital. Mrs. Han leaves to see him. Nian says to Li, we should also go with her to the hospital. Li tells Nian, this was our plan to separate you two, so that they'd spend time together, and we also spend time together. Nian says to Li, I will cook food for you. They're eating together when Makue comes. Li asks Makue, what are you doing here? Makue says to Li, I came to say goodbye to you both. Li says to Makue, you don't need to say goodbye to us. Makue says sorry to Nian and tells her, I am going abroad. You both stay happy. Makue leave. Nian asks Li, why is she going abroad? Li tells Nian, Mr. Jiang sold everything and gave the money back to the workers. After that, we see Jean tells Nian, Chan proposed to me for marriage. Nian says to Jean, you're very lucky. Jean asks Nian, did Li propose to you? Nian says, not yet, he didn't even confess to me. Meanwhile, Li is with Chan. Chan says to Li, the girl I loved for so many years, now I am going to marry her, I am very happy. Chan asks Li, what is your plan? Li says, I don't have any plan. My mother is happy raising her daughter, and I am working as an intern in my father's company. Chan says to Li, I am not asking about that. At that time Jean calls Chan, and both Chan and Li go to her. Nian purposely shows a wedding dress to Li, and Jean talks about wedding heels, but Li does not understand. Nian leaves from there. Jean says to Li, you're very slow. That's why I chose Chan. Nian goes behind. Li asks Chan, what did I do? Chan does not say anything and leaves from there. On the other side, we see Jean says to Nian, nothing can be done with Li. Nian says, I have lost hope. Jean tells Nian, don't give up. I will help you. At that time, Li comes there. Jean goes to Li and starts talking about proposing to Nian. But Li says to Jean, I know, I will do it in my own way. Li leaves from there. Later, one by one, everyone gives hints of marriage to Li, but he does not notice. Everyone is talking. Chan says, we all gave hints to Li, but he didn't understand. Nian says, it does not matter. I love Li, and Li loves me. We are together. That is enough for me. Li hears this. In the ending scene of the drama, we see Li proposes to Nian for marriage. Nian accepts. Li puts a ring on Nian's finger, and they kiss. At that moment, everyone else comes there and wishes them. And with this, the drama ends here. So guys, if you liked this drama, please like the video, and for more such videos, subscribe to our channel.